Welcome into this Wednesday edition of Pushing the Pile, brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Mike Renner, JP Acosta, coming at you on our tiers edition. Today we're going to be doing our power tiers. We'll also be doing our custom tiers, which today, JP, arm talent.
Ooh.
Arm talent tiers. I'm dipping my toe into the fray. Anytime you try to talk about quarterback's arm strength, I feel like people get upset. But we're gonna go through. I'm gonna explain myself. We're gonna see. You guys are gonna get upset. And then off the top here, though, we wanted to go through some trade deadline ideas. Obviously, we are still a few weeks away from the trade deadline. But in the NFL, oftentimes it's like when you know you're out, you make the trade because the other team wants to get that guy acclimated. It's not like baseball where the guy just comes in the next day and all of a sudden there's no get him up to speed period. He's doing the same thing regardless. You got to get these guys up to speed. We saw what Tyson Campbell looked like. We saw what Greg Newsome looked like this past weekend. It's tough. It's tough in the NFL. So the trade deadline is like a trade deadline month. So we could see moves anytime. We've already seen a few. So we're going to propose some of our favorites. We'll go back and forth here. JP, hit me with some heat.
All right. My first one, I want Chris Olave on the Buffalo Bills.
Dude, you said this one pre-show, and I was like, yes.
Immediately. That was the first one that I thought of because I think Chris Olave has struggled this year in New Orleans, and I think it's about time that he had a new change of scenery, and the Saints start to build more draft picks towards getting guys who will be around there for a long time. I believe Olave is coming up on the last year of his contract. I don't know if they picked up the 5th-year option, but what he would give Buffalo immediately is someone who can create instant separation. You think of sort of the process behind the Amari Cooper trade they made, where they're thinking somebody who can just create some juice on the outside, someone who can give Josh Allen an easy target on the outside, and you don't necessarily run the risk of him getting injured over the middle of the field because that's what you have. That's when you have Kincaid, you have Khalil Shakir. You move everybody down a role and slot guys into more suitable positions for the actual talent that they are. Josh Palmer being your leading outside receiver is not conducive to passing game success. I think the Bills need somebody who can create separation in one-on-one situations, and I believe Olave, when healthy, can fully do that.
Yeah, so Olave, he does have a 5th-year option after the season, but I think he's made it known that he's not been happy in New Orleans, has wanted out. And this is one of those rare trades, though. It would have to take kind of the compensation you saw in the Chase Claypool trade. So Chase Claypool was at the same point in his career when the Pittsburgh Steelers traded him away. Not same point because he was 3rd-year guy, but had a year and a half left. And so it took a top of the 2nd round pick, what actually ended up being pick number 32 overall, to go get a guy like Chase Claypool. Now, I feel a lot better about Chris Olave than I do Chase Claypool if you're trading for him. And if you're the Buffalo Bills, you just use the top of the 2nd round pick on Keon Coleman. Chris Olave laps Keon Coleman, if you're keeping it real, in terms of impact that he could have on that offense. I love this. I think it makes so much sense from both sides. And I think for the Buffalo Bills, if anyone needs to be active at the trade deadline, it's this team. The AFC is wide open. This is your shot. You have the roster to do it. You're trying to keep it intact. And this might be your last shot because, as we've said, they're old. They have a lot of injuries. It often happens when you're an old team. And it's like, but where the injuries haven't really happened are the offensive line. That offensive line with Josh Allen, and you add one more wide receiver, you will be the best offense in the NFL. You will be the toughest offense in the AFC to stop. I love it. I need it to happen. All right, mine. I'm floating this one out there. It might be crazy, but I think it makes sense from both sides if they're not going to re-sign him. It's George Pickens to the New England Patriots. The Cowboys have a big decision on their hands right now because it really is. You can't just let him walk in free agency. You can't play the stupid game that you've played with every big free agent. You have to either sign him now to an extension or trade him now. You got to make that decision right here and now because he's too talented of a player to just let walk for a 3rd rounder. It's just what, a future 3rd rounder is what it would be. You need that rebuild to start now if you're not going to have George Pickens on this roster. And I think with the Patriots and where they are as a team, how they desperately wanted a number one. They got Stephon Diggs. He's not really a number one. He's gotten better as season's worn on, but he's still not like they don't have a guy that's just one-on-one gets open. Kayshon Boutte's their best guy in that regard, and he's still just like fine. Pickens is a difference maker. He's a dude in that regard. And if you really are in a spot where you can make a run, you can make a Commanders-esque move here and really push some chips to the end of the table, trade for George Pickens, and then re-sign him long-term because that guy is a number one. That's what you were looking for this offseason.
I love the George Pickens idea in New England because of what Drake May needs as a passer and as in a receiver. Drake May is so good throwing in the tight windows. The tight window throw rate, the accuracy on tight window throws, it's basically 35, 40-yard handoffs. He's putting in best position for the guys to succeed. Their best contested catch receiver right now is Kayshon Boutte, who is having a great year, but imagine having a guy like George Pickens who can create that instant window in contested catch situations. And then he's also added to his game in terms of yards after the catch. He's a little more explosive. I'm actually going to go one step further. What if we get A.J. Brown and Mike Vrabel reunited again? What if the Patriots, who see themselves right now leading the AFC East, chance to go fully push all the chips towards the table, go get A.J. Brown. Let's see what really makes something happen. And A.J. Brown feels like the supersized receiver that Drake May really needs. He already has familiarity with Mike Vrabel, and it just feels like everything's really weird in Philly right now for obvious reasons. But if A.J. Brown really wants out, I think the Patriots should be trading whatever they have to go get him.
So he got that extension, I believe it was last year. And going through it, they set it up that if it's all basically yearly option bonuses and guaranteed salaries. So if they were to trade him, they would actually get some good deal of cap relief. Philly would. It's not hard for them to do, even if he just signed his extension with how they set it up. I think they may have known that, hey, things could go south with this relationship. They obviously, when they signed it, I believe it was last year, there was, we had already gone through some stuff in Philly with A.J. Brown being unhappy. So I would not put it past Howie Roseman. He's always, every trade deadline, he makes a deal. So like Philly's going to do something. It would not surprise me with this struggling offense if they do something crazy, which would be a trade A.J. Brown at the deadline would definitely be crazy, but I would love to see it. My next one here. This is one that like I think everyone and their mother has heard at this point. If you're an NFL fan, like you've heard this talked about. Is Trey Hendrickson to the Lions? The Lions, like same story, different year. Last year at this time, they're like, they need a pass rusher. Aiden Hutchinson was hurt at that time. They need a pass rusher. Zadarius Smith was ultimately who they landed on. Again, Hutchinson's playing great, but like what could take this defense over the edge? Going to get in a pass rusher. Trey Hendrickson, obviously, with what they did in terms of tacking on more money, it would be a little bit of a cap ask to go get him. Like it's going to cost the team taking him like double-digit millions of dollars to add him on. The Lions have the third most cap space in the NFL, though, right now. Obviously, some of that, you get the rollover, some of that goes into the next year, but they could easily add a guy like Trey Hendrickson, and then you get Trey Hendrickson and Nate Hutchinson. I don't care what the secondary looks like. I don't care who my starting corners are. If they're out at that point, that's going to impact a lot of games. This is one I need to see happen.
And it makes a lot of sense for the Lions, especially because we've said since Aiden Hutchinson got to the Lions, he needs a running mate. He needs a good number two. Or in this case, Trey Hendrickson might make him a 1B or like a 1A.
Right.
Like you have two truly like top tier pass rushers. And where Trey Hendrickson really succeeds is finishing. He finishes the sacks. He'll turn pressure into sacks really quickly. And with the way that the secondary looks right now, you don't necessarily have to always play man coverage or always blitz because you can play a little bit more zone with those guys winning up front. And if you get Aleem McNeil back, that trio of McNeil, Hutchinson, and Hendrickson is going to be something different in the playoffs when you have to try and block all three of those guys. So I could definitely see it. I'm manifesting this one. We're speaking it into existence like we did Micah Parsons. We have to get Trey Hendrickson out of Cincinnati.
I'll just say this. If you're Cincinnati and you do not trade Trey Hendrickson, That is unforgivable in my eyes. That is just, I get that you're still, technically in it, whatever, from a record perspective. You cannot just let him walk, go to free agency, take it might not even be a third rounder in 2 years, given his age and what he'll have to sign for after this. But even if it is, you can't take the third rounder in 2 years because you could get more than that right now, in my opinion, given how much he could impact a team down the stretch. I mean, that is a massive piece to be able to add at the deadline. Those guys are almost never available. This year, he just should be. You just have to do it if you're the Cincinnati Bengals.
It just makes too much sense. Since he is in a different space than what we thought they were going to be in entering this year compared to what we thought. And if they trade Trey Hendrickson, you can completely start over. This team needs to completely start over. They need an overhaul on the defensive side of the ball. And it feels like they made this deal going into this year thinking, all right, we're going to try and push all our chips to the table for this one last year and see if it works. Clearly, things happen. It has not worked. So getting off this deal with Hendrickson and completely starting over will be the best move for them.
What's your next trade here?
My next one is Rashid Shaheed to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, you're just ravaging the Saints.
Saints got a fire sale. Get everybody out of here. We need to get all those deals off the books. I'm sending Shaheed to the Steelers because they still need juice. They need some downfield explosion. And it's different than they have DK Metcalf. If you look at how DK Metcalf's being used this year, it is not a downfield threat. He had those 2 go balls against the Browns that were kind of like stutter go and then the fade route over Tyson Campbell. But those were 20, 25-yard passes. These are not moon balls anymore. And I think with how they're using him in terms of yards after the catch, in the screen game, in the in-between game, you need somebody who can take the top off the defense that Aaron Rodgers will trust. You need that threat of speed. Rashid Shaheed is one of the best deep threats in the NFL, just in the fact that when he's on the field, he can tilt the field in the offensive favor. So you get all that space opened up for DK Metcalf to work underneath, for Jonnu Smith, for Darnell Washington, who you got more involved. So then your 12 personnel becomes more deadly because you have more variety. Rashid Shaheed's contract isn't that crazy. I believe he's only got 1 year left on his deal. You can potentially turn him into a free agent at the end of this year. But if the Steelers, who are somehow leading the AFC North by virtue of not imploding yet, if they want to make a deep run in the playoffs, they need some more layers to the offense. I think they're looking for another receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they called about Olave, but Shaheed feels like it makes the most sense.
Yeah, I also think Jacoby Myers would be a good fit there at Pittsburgh. Truly, anyone, anyone is an upgrade, unfortunately, over what they have right now. All right, my last one. No, I'm a pivot here. I had Alvin Kamara to either the Commanders or the Chiefs, but I think we've just demolished the Saints too hard at this point. We're just basically trying to take everyone off the Saints, and they got to keep someone. They got to keep this rebuild some way, shape, or form. So I'm going to go a little different route. I'm going to go with Wyatt Teller of the Cleveland Browns. I want him traded to the Tampa Bay Bucks. Offensive line in a little bit of shambles. Obviously, some injuries there. I think he fits their ethos of what they want offensively. I want to put him right next to Tristan Wirfs, and I want to improve that offensive line because, again, I think the Bucs are a team that haven't really been big movers in they haven't been big at the deadline. That isn't how they've built this roster. But I think there's a big opportunity here to do just that because they are top of the NFC right now. I think they have as good a shot as anyone to win it. You have the quarterback playing that well. You have the offense playing that well. Your one worry is this offensive line continuing to hold up with the injuries they've had. I think that would shore it up. And I think the Browns are very much going to be sellers at the deadline themselves.
It feels kind of odd to do the starting offensive lineman trade in the middle of the season. I feel like we don't really see that often. I'm not sure if there's
Cam Robinson last year.
And even then, it felt like with Cam Robinson, he was on the outs with Jacksonville.
Yes.
he was trying to be replaced by Walker Little. But Teller is one of the more entrenched guys in Cleveland. He's a quality like plus starter, but I do see it from the Bucs perspective of just getting another guy who's healthy, who can move, and you can, like you said, put him next to Tristan Wirfs. You can put him next to Gedeke when he gets healthy. You have a good problem moving forward with, you can just put your best 5 out there, and once everybody gets healthy, you shore up that offensive line for a really deep playoff run.
And Teller, in the last year of his deal, a number of guys in the last year of their deals with the Browns, David Njoku as well, would not surprise me if they're clearing house on those guys, just given their sort of cap situation and given where they are in that rebuild. All right, that's it for some of our trade ideas. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to get to some more trade talk in our power tiers, and we'll get to our arm talent tiers at the end as well. But power tiers coming up right after this.
You can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. So even if you can't count on accurate expiration dates,
that is a rookie mistake,
or people appreciating your fashion sense,
Jim, the crowd is not on board here.
you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS, streaming on Paramount Plus.
Glad we wear our good jerseys.
Yeah. I will start with this tier, and it's unfortunate, but it's the Call Me in 2027 tier, and it's one team. It's Tennessee Titans. I don't need to talk Tennessee Titans anytime soon. This is one of those sad seasons. It feels like, I hate to keep bringing this one up, but it feels like those like Texans years after Deshaun Watson, where it's just like, it's going to suck. It's going to suck. The bed's been made. You're all tucked in, and we're going night-night until 2027 with this Titans team.
I said a couple weeks ago, this team is 2021 Jaguars level of bad, with Urban Meyer not knowing who players were and kicking kickers. This feels like the same thing. The only real hope for the Titans is that maybe you don't break Cam Ward. You can't break your number 1 pick quarterback throughout this process, because once you do that, you realize you have to start back over with that. So the only hope really for them is just, you hope this year doesn't completely break Cam Ward, and that you find a coach who can bring the best out of him.
I got to look up when the new stadium opens up. When does the new stadium in Nashville open? That's what we're looking forward to here. New Nissan. It looks like it's 2027. Oh, perfect. It's going to line up. We're going to have a good team for that new stadium. But until then, we don't need to talk about the Titans, unfortunately. All right, next tier. This is the sellers at the deadline tier, kind of what we just hit on. I'm going to go through some names from each. Bengals, Trey Hendrickson. I think Cam Taylor-Britt also needs to get out of there. He's just not a scheme fit. He is not a scheme fit for Al Golden's defense. He's not a man corner. He's his own corner. There's a lot of zone teams that could use his help. Someone like the Rams, I think, should come calling, knocking on the door, see what they can get out of Cam Taylor-Britt. New York Jets, definitely sellers. Quincy Williams at linebacker, maybe Breece Hall at running back, depending on how you want to go forward with him in a contract year. Miami Dolphins in this tier. Jalen Phillips in his last year of his deal. Bradley Chubb in the last year of his deal. Both could be on the move. We've talked about how ineffective both have been this year, although Jalen Phillips at least looks like he still has something as a pass rusher after all those injuries. Raiders, Jacoby Myers, we've harped on. I think Malcolm Kuntz, kind of one-year prove-it deal could go as well. New Orleans Saints, we've tried to trade away half the roster at this point in the show already, but Alontae Taylor could go too. I think Taysom Hill is going to be a Bronco by the end of this trade deadline. I didn't realize. Do you know how old Taysom Hill is right now?
He's got to be in his 30s.
He's 36.
Oh my God.
Right? I saw that this morning. I was like, what? When did that happen?
When did Taysom Hill become an unk?
So he came in the league like old as can be. Okay, so no, he's 35. Sorry, excuse me. 35. But still, he came in the league old as can be. And, well, I kind of forgot about him for a while, and now he's even older. So he's 35 years old. That's insane. But he's going to be a Denver Bronco. I would bet money on. Olave, Taylor, Shaheed, Kamara, just do it, Saints. Like, it's time. We need to re-up this roster with young talent. Cleveland Browns, Wyatt Teller, David Njoku in this tier. Yeah, I think all those should be, and probably will be sellers at the deadline, or at least open to selling.
I think one of the most intriguing names that you mentioned was Jalen Phillips from Miami Dolphins, who is, like you said, he looks like he's fully recovered from injuries. He's winning at a really high rate as a pass rusher, but the Dolphins themselves cannot really get off the ground as a defensive line unit. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved off of him, like you said, last year in his deal. I think Jacksonville could use another pass rusher. I think if San Francisco wants to try and soften the blow of losing Nick Bosa, you get a guy who instantly wins, but wins in a different way than anybody else on the roster. I think that'll really help sort of add some flavor, add some juice to the pass rush. And then you just think about a guy like Alontae Taylor, who I think is one of the coolest nickel like slot defenders in the league, because he'll also have like 5 sacks. And you just think about a team that needs some of that juice from the slot. You think about maybe Minnesota, if you really want to try and just get some more juice in the secondary. You kind of want to see, I think Flores and Alontae Taylor would be a nice scheme fit as well. You think about potentially teams needing a guy who can play outside in. I think he would make a lot of sense as we get close to the deadline. A lot of teams trade for DB help as we get closer. So the Saints really honestly should just go ahead and start new. I kind of wonder if Pete Werner might be available because of how good Danny Stutzman's looked in relief and like in smaller snaps. Like I wonder if they're willing to move Pete Werner at the deadline. But I think all those teams should really start looking at, we'll just move on to 2026 and see how many picks we can get for the draft.
All right, next tier here is the should sell but won't tier. I think these two teams, they just I don't think it's their year. I think they should move on and get what they can get from expiring contract guys or guys that really don't have a ton of value to them in the future. It's the Cardinals and the Cowboys. I had high hopes. I did. This Cowboys defense just got annihilated by the Panthers. This Cardinals team is just, they're competitive, but it's just, you can just tell that they are not going to be competitive enough in the West. And they have a lot of aging pieces. I think the Dalvin Tomlinson or Calais Campbell signings, they could move on from one or both. Now, Campbell, maybe not just because you want him to retire a Cardinal or whatever, but he may never retire. So how long are you going to hold on to him? Dalvin Tomlinson, though, just has not worked out. I think that contract was always easy to get off their books. They could trade him for someone else. Even Yeldy Froholt at center is getting up there, could be moved. And for the Cowboys, we talked about Pickens, but I think also Sam Williams in the last year of his deal could be moved, or Kenny Clark could also be moved on the defensive interior there. So both should consider that. Just building for 2026, guys that probably won't make an impact for you then, or guys you're not going to re-sign, think about moving on from.
I have said so much how disappointed I am in this Cardinals team, but one of the things that they did that really I was really confused by, that I think has taken a really drastic hit to that defense, is they let Kaiser White walk. They let Kaiser White move on in free agency and never really replaced him. Like, you have Akeem Davis-Gaither playing legit starting linebacker snaps, and I don't think he is ready for that at all. And Kaiser White just looked like he had much more confidence. Mack Wilson would move over to the will. You can play him more outside. You can have him as a blitzer. I think not having Kaiser White has taken a big effect on that defense. And it sucks because the Cardinals defense, I wouldn't necessarily say it's been great, but they're still top half of the league in EPA per play allowed. They're still a quality defense. It's the quarterback. It is a quarterback problem, and you can't get off of Kyler Murray until the end of the season. So I wonder. I think I said it during the Colts game, but I was like, how long is Kyler supposed to be out with this injury? And do you kind of just I'm not going to say soft bench him, but do you say we're going to let you take as much time as you need to get healthy and just see if Jacoby Brissett can steal you games where you probably shouldn't win?
Yeah, I think you have to do that at this point. You don't want to trot him out there if he's not. His mobility is pretty much the only thing booing him up at this point, right? The only thing that you have to write home about. And if that's not there, if you're just asking to be a pure pocket passer, it just could get very ugly. And I would rather have Jacoby Brissett out there right now if he can't move. So, yeah, Cardinals are unfortunately in a tough way, and we'll have some tough decisions after the season. All right, next tier here. It's the exciting whites tier. And no, it's not the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the New York Giants only tier. They're exciting. They're finally like, hey, this Giants team, and it sucks that Malik Neighbors isn't there because they'd be a lot more exciting. But like, hey, this is a fun team to watch. We didn't get to really talk about Jackson Dart with the Thursday night game, kind of how our show is scheduled, that we don't really harp on it too much. So I wanted to give them their due because that was kind of the game I was waiting for from him as a passer, where you actually saw him operating within structure, how it was supposed to look. And obviously there was still a lot of like the second reaction stuff, still a lot of him winning as an athlete, and that's always going to be good. But there was one play that it wasn't even a completion that I saw that I was like, oh, that's good stuff. That's what it was. A play at the start of the third quarter. It was a 3rd and 2. You get a free runner on a blitz from the Eagles to his right side. He sees man coverage. I think it was an overload blitz. I think it was like a 0. And he has Theo Johnson against.
Yeah, I remember this one
on like a slant. And the way he threw it, he could have just, you see the free runner, you see Theo Johnson. That's the first guy in your vision. He could have just tried to jam it in there. But what he did was know that this is a tight end versus smaller corner. And he like tosses it up like he's almost throwing like an alley-oop just to get some air on it. So if Theo Johnson can just box out, he can go up and get it away from his body. Now he didn't. It was a great play by Adoree Jackson, kind of a not great play by Theo Johnson, but it was how you want to throw that route given the situation. It was high level understanding of how to play the quarterback position that like, that's the good stuff. Those are the plays that, yeah, that one falls incomplete, but that's exactly what he needed to do in that situation. And that's a hard thing to do when you are a young quarterback and you're his 3rd start of his career against a 0 blitz against a defense like the Philadelphia Eagles. I thought that was awesome.
I don't know how sustainable this is for the Giants with,
I'm right there with you.
Cam, Jackson Dart willingly putting their heads down and just headbutting opposing defenses for 60 minutes. But I can't say it's not fun. Like, I can't say that it isn't fun watching Cam Scadaboo like try and give instant CTE to every defender that he faces. He is such a fun player. You could tell that the Eagles stopped wanting to tackle him by like the middle of the 3rd quarter. And all those 4-yard runs start turning into 10, and the 10 start turning into 12. He's so good in the red zone. And I think Jackson Dart, there's still some stuff that I'm like, okay, some of the second reaction stuff, the touchdown to Wan'Dale Robinson, he missed them like the first 3 times, but comes back around to him late. Cool second reaction play, probably not sustainable, but like you said, it's that throw to Theo Johnson. It's the Jalen Hyatt drop in the end zone. It's the stuff that he did on 3rd down that you really get excited for. And he knows if it's not open, just run. Like, if you're not going to be a super duper like processor at this point in his career, which is perfectly fine because he's a rookie, just run. Like, just make something shake with your legs. And it feels like with the Giants, they are leaning into the fact that they might not be the best passing offense, but they're going to be so chaotic and so they're going to be super chaotic offensively. Yes. They're going to try and run the ball a lot. They're going to use Jackson Dart in the run game. You just worry a little bit because we got the first glimpse of Jackson Dart being injured in concussion protocol for what was very clearly a concussion, and Brian Daboll seeming to like rage bait the team doctors into letting him go back out on the field, which was one of the weirdest things I think I've ever seen on an NFL sideline, that the doctor was just like, yeah, okay. Like sure, man.
If you say so, coach.
Like, no problem. But I think it's fun. There's still more room to grow, but this is fun. This is chaotic. I think Giants fans should be excited about the chaos of their young team.
This quote came across my timeline, and I had forgotten about it from pre-draft, but his mom said this about Cam Scadaboo. He would put his brother's shoulder pads on and he would run into telephone poles when he was a kid. Yeah, that tracks. I think if you would have said, here's a quote about an NFL player, which NFL player, I think 99% of people would have immediately known it was Cam Scatterville. It's obvious. All right, next tier here. We're in the NFC North, but not the Packers or Lions tier. It's the Vikings and the Bears, who are just, unfortunately, they may be good teams. They may be very good teams. They are just in a division where you are third fiddle. And they are not the Packers or the Lions. They are not that level of rosters. They are not that level of proven commodity at quarterback and consistency that we've seen. So unfortunately, I just think for those two teams, I don't want to say the year before the year because we really don't know what J.J. McCarthy is. But it's going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs, get over the hump, do anything when you got 4 games against those two teams, you know?
It's going to be tough, especially in an NFC where there's like 8 teams that are all in the wild card conversation.
Yeah.
You're thinking about teams like the Falcons. You're thinking about the other 2 teams in the NFC West, whoever you want to choose that doesn't win the division. You're thinking about the Bears. You're thinking about the Commanders, the Eagles, the Cowboys even potentially could make a run. There's so many wild card there's so many in the hunt teams in the NFC where it's going to be an uphill climb and you can't afford to lose in division games. But like you said, the problem is you got 2 games a year against the Lions and the Packers. And with a young team like the Bears and for the Vikings, just a team with a lot of holes that are kind of shored up by just injury prone and aging stars. It feels like this might have to wait until next year. But if there's any team that I still think could close that gap, I'm still going to say it's the Vikings. I think the Vikings can still close that gap. I do want to see what J.J. McCarthy looks like once he comes back from injury. But when you have Brian Flores, when you have Kevin O'Connell, you raise the floor coaching-wise. You will be in the hunt. I hate to keep using it, but you will be in the hunt with a coaching floor as high as that. It's just now if the quarterback can just slow down for a second. Maybe this injury is kind of what he needed. Like maybe it's like a Bryce Young thing where he just needed to take a breather for a sec and really get the speed of the game down.
Yeah, honestly, I created this tier mainly for the Vikings. I think the Bears could have fit in another tier, but the Vikings, I was just like, I don't know what to do with for the points you just said. Their coaching staff's too good. We just have seen none of J.J. McCarthy, and what we did was like awful, but they still won a game when he was awful. So things could change very quickly there. We don't know, but as of right now, they're in the NFC North tier, but not the Lions Packers tier. All right, next tier. And we're going to do these 3 tiers in tandem because I have like one overarching thing. It's the bad record flawed team tier. It's the Ravens. It's the mid record flawed team tier. It's the Commanders, Texans, and Panthers. And it's the good record flawed team tier. It's the Chargers, Patriots, Steelers, and 49ers. There's something to like about all these teams. But when I stack up their rosters, I look at the rest of the NFL, I just have a very hard time seeing any of these teams actually being deciders of the Lombardi when it's all said and done. I just don't think they play a significant role. I hope I'm wrong. Some of the Texans I was higher on preseason. Ravens I was obviously way higher on preseason. 49ers could have been if they were not down their 2 best defensive players. There's reasons to like all these teams, but I just think when it's all said and done, they're just not quite good enough to be in the top tiers of this tier list.
I put out a post on Twitter and Blue Sky asking who the best team in the NFL is right now, and I got a lot of people saying the 49ers. And I understand why record-wise, because they have beaten the Rams even without their stars playing. They have beaten the Seahawks already, even though it was sort of a Reek Woolen just forgot where the ball was. But I struggle with the 49ers because your entire thing this year was supposed to be you're going to be really good on offense and you got to let the young guys figure it out while the stars carry you on defense. Now both those stars are out for the season. You're not getting those guys back. Those young guys are going to have to grow up really, really quick. You're going to have to get Mykel Williams playing a lot more snaps. You're going to need D. Winters and potentially Nick Martin and Tatum Bethune all playing really well. You're going to need they just got Malik Mustafa back. You're going to need him to play legitimate snaps next to Marquise Siegel. You need Renardo Green to continue to play at a high level. You need Upton Stout to continue to be chaotic. That's just so much to ask of a young defense in a division where everybody's got a good offense. Like everybody has an offense that's capable of putting up 30 on you. So as much as I want to believe that like they're going to get some positive regression to the mean with George Kittle coming back, with Brock Purdy potentially being healthy once again, you get Ricky Pearsall back. I just don't know if this is the year. We'll check back in 2026 with this team, but I don't think this is their year.
Yeah, the 49ers, they pressured Baker Mayfield 6 times on Sunday. Like, we talked about their offensive line 6 times. No one had more than 2 pressures on that 49ers defense. That's not good. I mean, that's just like, that's going to be what it's going to look like without Nick Bosa. That's unfortunately just the nature of the beast. He was that good and no one else there. Maybe Bryce Huff, obvious pass situations, he can do some damage. I don't trust anyone else. There's not a single other guy that I'm like, hey, he has a one-on-one against a below average tackle. Is he going to win? I'm like, probably not. They just don't have it, unfortunately. And now you don't have the guy who can make up for that in Fred Warner either. So, yeah, I think they're a very flawed team going forward. And then my last tier. I had an expletive in this tier originally, but we're just going to go with the who knows. Who freaking knows, we'll say. Every other team that I haven't said yet. Bucks, Packers, Colts, Lions, Eagles, Jaguars, Broncos, Bills, Seahawks, Rams, Chiefs, Falcons. Every single one of these teams has played a game that you could point to and be like, damn, that was one of the best wins I've seen all year. You know, you have the Chiefs this past weekend against the Lions. You have the Falcons, what they just did against the Bills. Like you have the Packers, what they've done against the Commanders and the Lions. You have the Bucks and what they did to the Seahawks. It's like every team has something to point to where it's like, damn, they're good. Broncos, what they did to the Eagles. Every team in this tier. We just don't know. I do not know. This year is so weird. There's not a great team. There's a lot of very good teams. There's not a great team. So I am putting all of them in the who knows tier.
I love parity in the NFL.
Yes, it's great.
Of course, it's sort of come at the behest of like injuries, but this is awesome. There's so many teams that are like, I could see them making a run. And I said after the Bills loss, where this might be a year where you get a team that gets hot going right into the playoffs and they just ride that wave straight to the Super Bowl. And I partially was thinking of a team that I have said, I'm not saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's going to be this year. But again, the Falcons, all they need to do is just get hot offensively. And we've seen what they can do defensively. We've seen what they can do to poke holes against some very good offenses. They're still very sporadic offensively. They are still like, they'll put up like some of the best football you'll ever see in like 15, 20 minutes, forget how to play football for 3 drives, and then come back at the end of the game like, oh, I forgot we had Bijan Robinson on the team. Let's just keep giving him the ball. And it was evident against the Bills where like the first like 3 or 4 drives, they were moving the ball at will. They were just absolutely crushing the Bills on offense. And then for some reason, they kept running the ball. They were so good running the ball to the left, behind Jake Matthews, behind Matthew Bergeron. And then from like the middle of the second quarter on, they're like, we're never doing that again. We'll just not do that. But the fact is they got a defense. And I think for most of those teams that are in the who knows, they have a calling card. They have something that they know they can lean on to keep teams close, to keep games close. Everything else, they have their margin for error. They have their calling card. They're going to lean their hat on that, and then whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, it's definitely a very weird year in that regard, and that there's not a team that really looks special at this point in time. Obviously, you said you love parity. Vegas loves parity too. This has been a damn hard year to bet on any lines because, well, there's not a lot of knowns, not a lot of known knowns. And that's why this is the who knows, because we damn sure don't here.
It's going to be tough for everybody because, again, I put the who is the best team in the NFL right now. It's probably the Chiefs. They have 3 losses, and it's probably still the Chiefs. I could also see, like I said, my initial thought was the Bucs or the Seahawks. And just thinking that game that they played back in Seattle might have been the game of the year, might have been a game between the 2 top teams. And again, for Seattle, it's just the little things that are just like, they could be undefeated if Reek Woolen finds out where the ball is. They could be undefeated if Jalen Milroe just doesn't pitch the ball 3 yards backwards. Yes. So it's just, there's so much parity. There's so many fun teams. I'm excited to see how it continues to grow. But this does feel like a year that the evil empire just kind of, hey, y'all, you forgot. I put out the meme of like objects in mirror are closer than they appear, and it's the Chiefs in the mirror. So this feels like a year that the Chiefs get their groove back, and everybody's like, yeah, we forgot about them.
It's like, hey, we're not the best version of the Chiefs, but you guys are definitely not the best version of your team. So we're still going to beat you. All right, let's take a quick break. After that, we're going to get to the arm talent tiers right after this.
You can't count on Derek's taunt skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus.
All right, JP, do we want to start from the top, like the high-end arms, or do we want to start from the bottom up?
I feel like we got to start from the top. We got to start with the light show.
Work our way down. All right, we'll start with the laser show tier. Aptly named because these guys can it's 3 guys. They can spin it. And to me, when I watch, they have a different velocity, different level of MPH. It's Josh Allen, it's Justin Herbert, it's Caleb Williams. They just, when they want to get it somewhere, these guys can extend. So like when you talk about drive throws are you not trying to put excess air on it. Your normal throwing motion, they can reach the farthest. These guys can go 40 plus on just a normal drive throw over the football. They can just go farther than pretty much anyone else in the NFL in my eyes.
Justin Herbert might legitimately have one of the best arms I've ever seen. Just
stupid. Flat
foot, the ability to just boom, that ball's out. And it's not only just like the deep throws, the 80-yard passes that'll go viral, but it's the short yardage stuff. Why he's so good at short yardage is he combines being a great processor with having an arm that can beat any window. Mm-hmm. I'm actually a little surprised Caleb Williams is in this tier, but when you think about it, like the rotational force he can get on the ball, especially when he's rolling out like some of the off-platform throws, it's not like this is like he's throwing those on a line. Yeah. And it's crazy to see him like kind of turn to rotate his body while he's on the move and really let it rip. It's so fun to watch.
He's a guy that, I like to, how far you can throw is not a 1-to-1 proxy for arm strength, but when guys just casually in the course of a normal play are touching 70 yards, the way Caleb Williams has, whether it was at USC or with the Bears, just, from release to endpoint, it's hard to not have high, like that's high-end arm talent, because that means that if they really wanted to, they could probably extend out 75, maybe 80. Like when guys just have that in the tank, usually that's a pretty good indicator of how much they can spin it.
Can we add another tier above this one that's just Joe Milton?
Just Joe Milton tier, yes.
It's just Joe Milton. Like strongest arm ever. Don't know where the ball is going, but I saw that man throw an orange 110 yards. Like,
wait, actually?
I think it was in the Orange Bowl prep Tennessee did, and he threw an orange, and I think he cleared like the entire field.
Holy!
I'm gonna go find it. But
I didn't see that. But I've seen him at Tennessee. He would go. He would have multiple throws a game that were 60 plus yards. Just like that was just what he could do. And I've seen him go like 75 just casually. The guy has a different caliber of arm talent. I do think he's the strongest arm in the NFL. Allen, Herbert, and Caleb Williams are like they're tight. Like it's not like it's a huge gap, but he is definitely has just guy's different. All right, next tier. It's all the throws tier. For all intents and purposes, these guys are no different than the tier we just said. For how it plays out on an NFL football field, we're splitting hairs between these arms and the laser show tier. But I think it is pretty clear that they don't belong in that top tier, but there's not anything that's in an NFL playbook right now that's realistically off limits for any of these guys. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Baker Mayfield, Jordan Love, Cam Ward, Michael Penix Jr., and Matthew Stafford. There may have been a time when Stafford was in the laser show tier, but that time is not right now.
It's so fun watching the youngest guys on this list, Jordan Love, Cam Ward, and Michael Penix Jr. throw the ball, because they're all different flavors of strong arm, where I think Cam Ward's ability to get it across the field. He is such a good passer in just the chaos plays where he's going to roll to his right, throw it back across to his left, and the ball's still going to get there on a line. And it's just that shouldn't be possible. You shouldn't be allowed to do that, but you're doing it anyway. Jordan Love, his ability to just it's casual, effortless flick of the wrist. And it's
he's not he throws 90% most throws. I feel like he doesn't even try. Is his MO.
It's so funny watching him throw the ball and some of his mannerisms as a passer, because you can tell that he sat behind Aaron Rodgers for 4 years. And it's if you gave Aaron Rodgers an extra nitro boost, and he just he just never has his feet set, and it's still 50 yards downfield. And it's unfair. And then Michael Penix Jr., I've talked ad nauseum about how cool it is to watch him throw sail routes and outbreaks when he has all his cleats in the ground, and he just launches that thing, and it comes out hot. It's coming out hot. He is the pitcher that only throws 100 right now. It's so funny to watch because defenders will just be I was right there, and the ball beat me there.
Yeah, he's he's Mariano Rivera. He doesn't need one. He needs one pitch. That's all he's got. And when you got it that good, you don't need more than one. Yeah, these guys are. If you want, I take this back to college scouting, but a lot of times you say, "Guys got a strong arm in college." It's watch guys in college and then watch some of these and then come back and talk. This is what high end arm talent looks like in the NFL. All right, next tier is the plus tier. Good arms. You would call these plus arms. They have above average arm talent. They're not complete freaks like the tier above them where you have to respect every single area of the football field. There are some throws where, you get to 45, 50, you're going to get a little bit more air on it, a little bit more touch throws, but it's still very good NFL arms. Spencer Rattler, Lamar Jackson, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Drake May, and unfortunately it kills me to say it because at one point he was in the laser show tier, but he's fallen off. It's Aaron Rodgers in this tier.
Honestly, I think I'd put Aaron Rodgers a little lower.
In average?
At this point,
I would put him
in average.
The rollout throw he had to Freiermuth in week 2, was it? He still got that thing 65 on the move. That he's still got what he wants to, but it has taken a big hit.
It's just so sporadic. Where you'll never see it. We saw it week 2, and we haven't seen him really turn up the RPMs since.
I thought the touchdown throw this past week to Hayward was a vintage Rodgers red zone, just I'm gonna just all on my arm sort of touchdown throw. And
maybe it's just because he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And I think this is
throwing 5 yards.
Most of these guys in this category don't really need super strong plus arms because that's not how they win. That's not how they operate as passers. Lamar Jackson has a strong arm, but he doesn't need a really strong arm because he has great ball placement and he has the ability to extend. So he's always going to create windows by himself. You think about CJ Stroud and just the timing and the pace that he plays with. He's able to beat passes and defenders into windows with timing, not necessarily arm strength. The one guy that I think is on their way, trending up a tier, I think Drake May. is headed really towards the make all the throws like laser show tier, because just it's not only the downfield like pure arm strength. These are handoffs 40 yards downfield. The ball placement on these downfield passes is always like pristine. So I think he's well on his way up. I would probably move Rodgers down, but I like this. I like this group.
See, I think Lamar and Drake were the hardest conversations for me, because both are kind of like Jordan Love, where they're not 100% RPMs every single time. Like when Michael Penix throws it, he's throwing it every single time you see a throw from him, you know that's what he can bring to the table. Drake and Lamar, like, they only bring it out when they need it. They're keeping it in the tank. It's holstered on their side until it's like, oh, I got to hit this guy streaking 65 yards downfield. Here it comes. Like, I think that's why it's tough. It was a little tough for me to place both of those guys.
And it's such a cool testament for Lamar, because I've always said Lamar runs like he's actually like not really like trying
same thing
to be faster than everybody else. It's like that scene in The Incredibles at the end of the movie where Dash is running against the other kids and he starts off slow and it's like, no, actually try. And then when he turns it up and the parents are like, no, not too fast, comfortable second, close second. That's what we're aiming for. And Lamar just always runs and he throws like, okay, I'm gonna casual like 70% this, because I know if I go 100%, this nobody's ever gonna catch me.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy there for Lamar Jackson's game. Let's get to the average tier. And again, to bring this back to college scouting, like, this is NFL average. I think a lot of times in the draft conversation, we see these guys and they're like, oh, these guys have great arms. But we've hit at this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We've hit 17 quarterbacks already. So these are like, this is average tier, but it's technically like below average because we've hit 17 guys already. And this is where we're at. So realistically, NFL average, if you're saying NFL average arm, it really is below average arm. You got to have a plus arm to be competing with, the arms around the NFL. So just something to keep in mind. Sam Darnold, Jackson Dart, Joe Burrow. And yes, it was probably weaker than this early on in his career, but he legitimately has added RPMs to his arsenal as his career has gone on. Dylan Gabriel, JJ McCarthy, Geno Smith, Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels, and Kyler Murray. It's a big tier, but it's kind of your middle ground tier.
I kind of feel like Sam Darnold, and to an extent, I think Jaden Daniels should probably be in a tier above, or like plus, in an in-between area.
Okay,
like
just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they have a little bit more, like in terms of RPMs, especially with Jaden and his ability to attack downfield. I think that he and Sam Darnold has a super, like, when all of his cleats are in the ground and he just uncorks that thing down the middle of the field, I think you can really see him turn up the RPMs. I think this is a tier where, again, like, these guys aren't necessarily known for their arm strength. The only guy that really like was, and I'd say like maybe a couple of years ago, Geno Smith would be in a couple tiers higher,
yes,
but
I would put him higher.
Being older, like, his arm is falling off in a way where like it's not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably move Sam Darnold and Jaden Daniels up a tier, or like have them in their own like in between area.
That's fair. I debated Daniels pretty hard because I do think it almost, his effortless motion, like how easy it is for him, throws me off. But then you'll see him, like, I did some research for this one. He had a rolling to the right 40 yards drive throw, like on the move 40 yards. That's pretty good arm talent. But I mean, there's guys in this, like, that's why I'm saying NFL average is still damn good. You still got to have a pretty good arm to be NFL average. So I tend to agree, though. Daniels, Darnold, and I think Justin Fields can spin it. He just has such an erratically sort of arm strength. Like, I think it's because his mechanics aren't great in terms of, you see the elongated release, that you just get a wild. You some have pace, some don't. I mean, that's just kind of his game. He just is inconsistent with his arm.
You never really see him fully loaded up. It's like a trebuchet from medieval times.
Yeah, it's how far back is how much he gets.
It takes a long time to really load that thing up. But once he gets it firing, I think he can really extend to all parts of the field. It's just we rarely ever see it happen because it takes so long for him to get it there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. All right, last two tiers here. This is the limited tier. This is where you really start to see guys not be able to attack certain parts of the field, not be able to make some certain throws consistently, but they're still obviously a lot of these guys are very good NFL quarterbacks, but they're good despite their quote unquote arm talent. Dak Prescott, Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff.
This might be a little bit crazy to say, but I think Jared Goff should be higher.
You think so?
I think Jared Goff should be higher, and it's not just because like the downfield throws, but when I think of Jared Goff, it's the 12 to 15-yard dig that he throws. And it's not just that, it's getting it through windows. It's not necessarily like when I think of Jared Goff arm strength, it's not necessarily the 70-yard passes. It's the I'm going to get this around the defender in the middle of the field and throwing through the muck. And really that's where he stands out. I think Dak, I kind of struggled with Dak initially because I was like, ooh, Dak and Goff should be higher. But I think Dak is such a smart passer that it's sort of like he has a strong arm. Like I think he has an NFL arm, but it's not like super duper like NFL arm at this stage in his career with all the injuries. But I do think Jared Goff has a strong arm. It's just he never really like does the downfield stuff because his game is so predicated on that 12 to 15-yard dig.
Yeah, that might be wise because I just don't see like if you're looking for a 30-yard drive throw, you're not going to have any. He hasn't put one on tape maybe since LA. So like it's just not an aspect to his game. Maybe that's why I'm putting him in this tier. But yeah, when I think of all these guys, just in my head and just from watch them, I'm always like, it's more like they're not going to do certain throws. They're just not going to attempt certain throws. They know their athletic limit or their arm strength limitations, and they kind of play around them. But obviously, all play well at times. Bryce will still see, but the others obviously made a career out of it. Last tier, it's the pop gun tier. It's like the serious limited. Going to have to change your offense to do things with these guys. It's Tua. Brock Purdy, and it's Jalen Hurts.
I do not envy you for what Eagles fans are going to do to the men.
It had to be done.
I do not envy
wrong?
you. I think I would swap Bryce and Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
Just because I think Jalen Hurts.
You'd rather have Panthers fans mad at you than
Eagles fans. Partially, but I think Jalen Hurts has a fine arm on like the go balls, but I think the go balls necessarily are more, he can put a lot of air under it. It's Russ light, but not like fully like with the arm strength of Russell Wilson in his prime. It's the way he's able to get arc on the ball, which isn't necessarily arm strength. It's more just like timing and placement. But I don't know. I don't think Jalen Hurts and Tua are in the same like range of arm strength. Like when I feel
like Hurts is like the inverse Goff, where like he does those attacks downfield throws, like the pure vertical throws more, but he won't drive a dig route at all. He just won't.
If you combine like the heat maps of Jared Goff and Jalen Hurts, you would get like the peak like NFL quarterback. It's like Jared Goff is like the Mohawk where everything's down the middle, and Jalen Hurts is the reverse Mohawk where it's just nothing.
The bald guy.
He's got the fine bomb cut going on. He's got to leave the sides. So I see where you're going, and I actually do like the separation between limited and pop gun, because I think there's a difference. Like some of those guys in limited, like you can really see them make throws, but especially this year with Brock Purdy, you can see some of the arm strength is kind of gone with still coming off the elbow injury, coming off all the injuries that he has had. You can kind of see that just like the arm strength isn't there. He's just more like, he's in the same vein of like, he's going to try and create windows with his legs and then do something after that, see what happens.
Yeah, maybe it was a little disrespectful to Hurts, but it just didn't feel like he belonged to the limit here. But hey, let us know who we got wrong in the comments. We'd love to hear, because I'm sure we guys have just some different disagreements. I'm sure it'll be respectful too, as it always is with Eagles fans. All right, let's get to our little Thursday night football preview, and then let's get out of here. Steelers, Bengals. Steelers, 5.5-point favorites here in Cincy. 42.5 points is the over-under. I may be rolling, not necessarily the game, but I'll roll downtown Cincinnati and go check out the Banks as it's going on. Would have been a lot cooler if Joe Burrow was playing, but alas, they'll still be tailgating down at the Banks. So don't think it'll be a good one, though. Don't think it'll be a fun one. At least we'll get some fights, though, as we always do with the Steelers-Bengals fans.
I actually put a lock on this one. I'm locking the under because it feels like almost every Steelers game is an under, especially against Joe Flacco at quarterback. I think something that I've been noticing with the Steelers is since Derek Harmon has come back, their run defense has looked a lot better.
Yes.
Partially, like, of course, it's who they've played, but they've played a lot of physical teams on the ground. And with Harmon back, everybody kind of slides over a little bit in the run game, and they've looked a lot better. Nick Herbig has been awesome this year. Like, he has been one of my favorite pass rushers to watch this year, just from a pure like speed and understanding your speed. It's not just he's going to try and dip around the edge, dip around the corner every single time. It's knowing how he uses his speed as a threat to open guys up to the inside. It's some of those ways I think he wins that is really cool. I do think that this should be a game where the Steelers try and get DK Metcalf involved early. The Bengals do not have a very good passing defense. They really struggle to rush the passer. So I wonder, like, if this is a game where the Steelers really try and open it up a little bit. But this one should be a comfortable win for the Steelers, but anything happens within the division.
Yeah, I think it might stay tight. I think, one, the Bengals don't have a lot of great corners, but if you really only have to focus on DK Metcalf, I think they can do that. And two, I just think with Flacco, there's a little more spunk in this passing offense. There's just a little more hope. It does not take much when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It just flat out doesn't. So I think that'll play, at least it did down the stretch against the Packers last week. And they're at home this week. And he has another week of actually, maybe learning the playbook. This is the second oldest quarterback matchup of all time. Second time we've seen 40-plus-year-olds. First time was in 2020, Tom Brady and Drew Brees. So there's an interesting factoid. Honestly, Pittsburgh's kind of just they have just backed ass backwards into first place, and they're just going to keep rolling. It's just there's no sense in picking the Bengals to actually win this game. The Steelers are going to find a way. It's going to happen. There's no way they drop this game. They just don't. So it's kind of been incredible to see, and I hope they go like 15-1 or 16-1 at this point. I hope they just like back into a win every single week and are the craziest one seed in NFL history.
This would be the craziest, like, Mike Tomlin, this is the Mike Tomlin domain expansion of the year. This is the Mike Tomlin special move where, like, he's charged this up for years. He's been loading up for like the last 3 years to try and do this exact thing this year, which is everybody else gets hurt. We are still here winning games 20-10. What's the oldest QB matchup of all time?
It was Brady Brees, 2020.
Really? That's the oldest of all time? I didn't know that. I thought we'd surely get like some like Tarkenton or back in the day where like he's
their bodies used to break down. Like they used to be taking hits like everyone else back then.
See, I do wonder, are we ever gonna get like another like 40+ QB matchup again past this one with the way that guys
with how much people run now.
Yeah, with the way that sports science has evolved, like, are you going to get guys who play longer into their 40s? And if there's any quarterback who play into their 40s, who do you think it would be?
Ooh, at this rate, oh man, I'm trying to think around the league right now who could. I mean, Josh Allen, I think could, just because he's so big, has not been injured over the course of his career. Even if his arm takes a hit, it's still a big arm. I mean, like that was kind of Brett Favre back in the day, how he played to 40. So I feel like Allen's maybe one of the better bets to do it. But he doesn't like it.
I'm also going to say Jared Goff because
Oh, Goff.
I think with Jared Goff, he is such, and I say this as a compliment, he is a simple passer. I know exactly what I do. I know I do it well. I can do that until I'm 40. And I think that's something that it's like death, taxes, and Jared Goff 12-yard dig. Those are the three certainties in life.
How old is Goff right now? Let's see. Goff is 31. So that means 2034. We get a Goff season where he goes for 4,500 yards with the Lions. He would be
here for it.
Detroit legend if he's still playing in Detroit in 2034.
They would retire his jersey before he retired. The Detroit legend Jared Goff. They're gonna make songs about Jared Goff.
Jared Goff, big mural on the side of a building downtown Detroit. Just like
who would have thought after that trade happened,
dude? Right?
Detroit
after his year in St. Louis on Hard Knocks, where he didn't know which side of the world the sun came up on. Who would have thought he would have ended up being a Detroit legend? Not me, not anyone, not even
They're
him.
chanting his name in baseball games. Like that's how crazy like the Jared Goff Detroit legend has become.
He's like as big as Josh Allen, even if like objectively, not Josh Allen, but like for his city, it's Detroit. I mean, when you're that starved, anything looks like food, and Goff looks like food. He's good. He's good. All right. There's our Thursday Night Football preview. There's our show. We'll be back with a full Week 7 preview tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. As always, if you want to go to our new YouTube channel, like, subscribe, follow, it helps. Tell your friends. That also helps. Until next time, keep pushing.